Hi, we're the Three Gigs, Guys in Glasses, only we're not three. We're two gigs,
Two
Guys in Glasses.
and really just
Almost.
one guy in
One
glasses.
guy in
Now
glasses.
now we're
Now
two.
there's two guys
Yeah.
in glasses. I'm Craig, and I usually play owner. And
And I'm Jim, and I usually play the general contractor. And today, since Paul's not here to represent the subcontractor, I'm just going to play contractor in general because we're going to talk about a subject that the contractor is responsible for, and it's submittals. And submittals are essentially a documentation of every material that is going to be put into this building.
right.
It's kind of the architect says, here's what I'm designing, and here's a list of the materials that I want to use. Now the subcontractor or contractor who's going to be installing those materials has to document, yes, I'm going to put these materials in.
Now it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. I don't care, and the architect doesn't care what you're putting up for your temp fence, or how you're
yeah.
building your.
That's the process of building,
right.
Not the actual building.
So we don't care about
Yeah.
that, and we don't
Yeah.
care about the equipment you're going to use, but we do care about equipment if it's in or on the building.
Yeah, in or on. And, it can be as detailed as the doorbell that you're going to use at the entry, the numbers that are going to go on the building on the outside, the toilets that are going to be installed. Because when the architect designs the project, he has, and the mechanical contractor or consultants, they have something in mind. They want it to look a certain way. And so the submittal really kind of makes sure that whoever's installing those materials is putting in what the architect wanted. Now, if that person says, you specified this type of air conditioner, this a piece of equipment, this manufacturer, I'm going to submit something that's an equal to what you specified,
but not what you specified.
But not exactly what you specified. Maybe to get a better price, because what you specified is kind of the Cadillac version, and I've found something that's a little bit less expensive, but still accomplishes everything that you need. Or maybe you specified a certain type of paint by a certain manufacturer, and I'm going to use a different type of paint that's similar in color, similar in everything, and I'm going to give you a little sample of that. So let's just talk about what submittals are. Documents.
They're documents. They're like physical.
Yeah.
Here's
samples.
Here's floor tile.
Yeah. Here's a 1x1 piece of the countertop we're going to install. Here's a sample of the window. There's the little slider casing. Sometimes they do the samples of the windows.
Right.
So there are all kinds of different types of submittals.
But why does it get done? Why do you have to do submittals? Or do you have to do submittals? I think I've seen some contracts that are written that says if you're not using something other than what was specified, if you're going to put in what we specified, you don't have to do a submittal. Now, that's never been in any of my contracts.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I have seen where that's the case.
Yeah. I think you'd probably, the reason that they're there is that if there's a problem later, that let's just say the windows you installed don't fit.
Right.
Or they leak.
Right.
And the architect specified this window.
Right.
And you didn't submit on that window.
Right.
And you just installed a different brand.
Right.
And they leak. Who's going to be responsible?
Right.
The architect was, well, that's not what I specified.
Exactly.
So
I'm walking away from it.
You've got this, Mr. Contractor.
Right. It can be a real pain to put submittals together.
Oh, man, I remember as a junior engineer, the books we had to assemble of every piece of pipe, every fitting, every
nuts and bolts,
nuts,
everything,
screws, the drywall screws, all those things.
Right.
Had to be submitted on.
Right.
But checked off.
But that said, the drawings are drawn and the specs are done, and I feel like the real brain power doesn't show up until the subs show up.
Yeah.
When the subs show up and they now have to do submittals, that's when hopefully you are talking with the subs and everybody's kind of looking at the big picture. Yeah. That's where you find out that the windows that were spec'd are not the right style of window for that wall. That works on 3 out of 4 walls. But because of the exterior skin, that window isn't the right window. I think submittals flush out where the designs didn't quite marry up right. I think the submittals can also help flush out from sub to sub.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I remember a specific job where the rough opening for a window is specified in the submittal. The window manufacturer says, if my window is 3 foot by 6 foot, I need a 1/2 inch around the entire opening for you to be able to fit the waterproofing and my window in the opening. And so if that's not coordinated right, you don't have the room.
But the drawings might say something different.
Yeah.
And that's where there's a lot of finger pointing. Right?
Yeah.
It's when you've got the submittal and the submittal says I need a 1/2 inch and the framing drawings say something else. And it doesn't get caught.
Coordinated.
But it could get caught, and sometimes it does get caught. A lot of times it gets caught. I think a lot of contractors know you take the submittal to get it from the sub. You don't assume the sub is checked. You check to make sure it's still consistent with the drawings, because so many times the RFIs that come back with submittals are, this is what you called out, but in the drawings you say something different.
Yeah.
And what do you want?
That's a good, so a submittal gets submitted by the person who's going to install that material, and who reviews it, right?
Architect
who specified it, the engineer who specified it, and oftentimes the contractor has to kind of check it too, right? So there's a good checks and balances system that's been developed for construction to make sure this all gets done.
Right. Yeah. The worst thing with a submittal, and I totally appreciate the energy of submittals if you're doing them right, but the worst thing in submittal is rubber stamping it. If you're the general and the sub gives you go, and you give it to the architect, and the architect says, well, fundamentally I'm not really responsible for the submittal. I mean, I can review it, but if something goes wrong, it's their fault. If everybody takes more of a hands-off approach, the process doesn't do what it's really intended to do.
That's right.
This is our last chance to marry up everybody's thinking and make sure it still is what we want to do.
Yeah. And before we close, I want to say that there's also the process of submitting at the end of the job, the operation and maintenance manuals. Right. So it's kind of a second round of submittals that is to make sure the building owner has all the guidance to operate and maintain his building. So there's like a submittals at the beginning of the job and submittals at the end of the job. And those submittals are probably equally as important, because if you're going to extend the life of everything that you just bought, you want to make sure you're operating it and maintaining it correctly per the manufacturer's recommendations.
I agree 100% on that.
So
okay, so that was our run around the block on submittals, what they are and why they're so important. We're the 3 Gigs. If you like this content, hit a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Thank you.